You are listening to the Centaku Media Podcast, a source for sharing interests beyond the scope of anime because we're in the center of other otaku interests. Hey everyone, this is Sanjo-chan. I'm your host of the Centaku Media Podcast. It is the week of June 21st, 2020, and you are listening to the 4th episode of the Centaku Media Journal. This is a bi-weekly series where I cover the latest events happening in the world of anime, gaming, entertainment, and whatever else in the world of Japanese and Korean entertainment. And we kick off every episode asking the listeners how they're doing, and then I fill in all the insights of everything that's happened to me this week that I hope that will shed some light into whatever issue they're having. But although I haven't really been doing that, I guess I've been doing it low key, but now this is actually a good opportunity to talk about what I need to talk about. But also, before I go on further, just as a shameless plug, this is also the deadline, or not deadline, but rather the projected release day of episode 2 of the Centaku Media Podcast, which is the monthly series where it covers one single topic. And this month's episode is actually very exciting. I'm not going to spoil it here, but if you're listening to this, it might be the next episode on your feed. So if you're subscribed to it, if you're not, please do that. If you like what you hear and listen to it, give it feedback, and stay tuned for the next episode. I hope you enjoy this episode and that episode as well. So look forward to the next episode. Chances are I might be delayed on editing it because it's kind of weird if it's not out by the time you listen to this on upload day on this episode rather. But yeah, look forward to it. So I know I'm going to be rambling on about it for like another minute. So I need to move on as soon as I can. But anyway, so what I was saying earlier about giving to insights of my life. Okay, before I even do that, I gotta ask how's everyone doing. I hope everyone's doing okay because I know last episode when I talked about the whole situation involving the murder of George Floyd, things weren't really looking well, but I guess it depends on the person, so I hope they're doing alright, that they're actually educating themselves, that they don't know much about it, or progressing through, getting things done as far as reform for everything that needs to be improved that's going wrong in this country. So I hope things, are looking better for everyone involved. And as for myself, like I'm an essential worker, and I've talked about this almost every episode, but I still have to work through all the COVID-19 pandemic, and I live in a state where it was pushing to have everything reopened, and we've seen a surge in cases because of it, and it's just ridiculous. But I'm not gonna go into politics. Like I rarely talk about politics, but I know there's some things that are an exception to. So I'm considering like the Black Lives Matter movement. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing okay. So my day job is improving. Like I've having to work close to 10-hour days pretty much for the last 3 months now, maybe 3.5 now. Pretty much ever since March. And right now we're going into July, about to go into July, and things are looking better. So we have 5 new employees on our team at my job. 2 of them, they've been around for like maybe a month, close to a month and a half now, and we just had 3 more join us in the last couple of weeks. And as soon as they get up to speed, we can rest easy again. Like it's nice having extra hours, but at this point I'm just ready to take a break. And since there are no cons to go to this year, although it doesn't have to be a con, it can just be anywhere other than here, right? But it's unsafe to do that. Like you can still do it if you're brave enough, but it's not worth it. And it's actually nice because I can save some money by not going anywhere, and also actually losing weight. I have no idea how much weight I lost. I need to get a new scale, but yeah, I've been eating better, trying to take care of myself, so that way I won't be stressed out too much as I have already. And So yeah, I'm trying to take care of myself. I think I'm sure there's some other things I forgot. I had a lapse in brain uh searching. Yeah, see, it's happening now. See, yeah, so much is going on. I don't know like where to start. But anyway, I guess the biggest thing I need to talk about is I'm hoping this will benefit other listeners too. Is that I had a moment, not this past weekend, but it was like last weekend, because chances are I might have this intro recorded the week before. But there was an incident, not really incident, not to make a big deal out of it, but there was a moment at work where I had to stand up for myself. So there's this coworker that I thought was really nice. I'm not going to explain their gender because I don't want, in case anyone finds out, I don't want anyone zeroing in on me. I'm trying to be anonymous as possible as far as talking about my day job and all that stuff. But this person, they like to be really nice, and I thought they were really nice, but there was a moment, 2 days in a row, where it seemed like they were trying to use their personality to influence the the idea of putting more work on me when there wasn't really any need to. So I've been doing this job. I've been at my job for a total of almost 5 years, but I've been in this position for 2.5 years, and then all the time I've been working with this person that I noticed that they like to call out something that they could have taken a few minutes to do, but they don't want to do it. And I even confronted this person saying, hey, why can't you do it yourself? It doesn't look like it's that hard. And so, it's not that easy. But it was easy because it was just something that could have been corrected with a few tools right on the spot, and it wasn't even that busy at the time. And so, you know what? I said I took the item anyway that needed to be looked at. And I was thanked when I didn't need to be thanked, if that makes sense, because they always say thank you. And it seems like when they do that, it's like trying to appease the person in themselves by doing that. But yeah, they say thank you and please when it's inappropriate. I'm guessing they're abusing the meaning of please when it's not needed. Like, oh, please, take that back, please. Bring that back, please. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you had someone that acts like that. But anyway, so I took the item and showed it to one of my supervisors, and he's like, gotcha. So he even agreed they need to do their own work when it's not, when it's appropriate. But there was plenty of times when it was appropriate. So fast forward to recently, like not this past weekend, but last weekend, I had to come in because there was an emergency where one of our coworkers had to call out, and that was normally my off day because this is also a start of a new schedule, and I lost my weekend because of this, but that's fine. But it was on the condition I had to leave early, so as soon as the work was done, and if they weren't backed up to the point of like, oh crap, they need work, then I would leave for the day. So when I went over there, asked them how they were doing, the person in question, looked like they were doing okay. They said they were doing okay, and then I went to go train our new person. I guess this is her first week being trained. So I trained her, and when we're done, it's close to us having to clock out because there's a time limit like 6 hours. I'm guessing depends on your country, whatever time limit you have before you go into what they call compliance. I guess depending on where you work, but I bring my all the things I worked on for that day over, and then there's this one of our new trainees. They come over and hand me some work, just out of the blue, and I told him I had to leave. And then the other person, the problematic person, comes around and say, "Did they get it?" And I told them we had to leave again. And this person asked the other trainee, "Are you staying?" And she also said she had to leave. The person complained that, "Oh, I am so upset. Like, I'm going to stay until 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, but the work they had left wasn't really that bad in what I was handed." only takes about 15 minutes to do, so he could have just waited and helped the person out, and then they could have been done for the day. Like, I know the other person, actually, I think they clocked in earlier, but they could have just taken a break and then come back and finish it, and they would have been done in an hour. Both of them, the person and this other person, the trainee and the other person. But this person has done it before, because it was back on Memorial Day weekend. I actually lost a 3-day weekend because I was puppy dog-eyed into staying, and then at the end of the day, it wasn't actually necessary. And on top of that, I went to a different area because our coworker was late getting to that area, so I decided to fill in for them. And I heard on the radio that problematic person A asked if they had my phone number, but the supervisor on duty at the time said that Sanjo-chan is at this area, and I said, okay, thank you. So I was like, I was proud of myself at that time. So my theory was that this person was going to use me for their bidding when I could be doing more work but actually helping them out. Although I know you're thinking that this person probably really needed help, but if you put my stories together about what they did in the past and their personality, it would make sense that this seems like this person is just not really trying, and that they're trying to push work off onto me because they see me as a peon and they're above what I normally do, what they see as demeaning. Which normally what I do, I troubleshoot packages that come into our facility. So that's part of our job of our team that we do. But like, I'm sure a lot of you are saying, oh, that's not fair. That's not fair to that person, but like, you don't know, you wouldn't know it until you see it. But I guess the moral of the story is that it's okay to stand up for myself. This person is not in a supervisor position, but my supervisors were supportive of my, calling this person out on it. And as of recording this intro, I don't know what the condition, like how it's turned out so far, because this person's off days have been changed too, so it's still early in the week since it happened. But I'll fill everyone in the next episode, which will be on the second Wednesday of July. But the reason I even talked about this, I know it was not anime related or anything geeky related, because this is something that I wanted to share. Like, I do want to share like some more of my personal life outside of just anime and stuff, because it seems like I don't do enough of that, and if I do that, it makes me more human, if that makes sense. But also, I guess I want to get more intimate with my listeners as far as, sharing more of my personal life. I don't know, I'm sure that happens, on every podcast or every medium you could think of besides just reporting on anime, gaming, and all that. But anyway, speaking of anime, we're going to get into that. I'm a little over my intro time limit, so without further ado, or actually before further ado, I do want to remind everyone, probably once more, that the second episode of the Centaku Media Podcast is out. Comes out every last Wednesday of the month, and the next episode 3, which will be on July 29th, which is 5 Wednesdays in July. So there's a lot of waiting going on between them, but that'll give me more time to work on the next topic of the episode. So if you're not subscribed to this, now's a good time to do that, so that way you can keep in touch until then. But now, without further ado, or to do, depending on how you say it, on to the main event, right after our sponsors and any other messages in between. You've listened to the podcast, now read a blog. Check out the rest of Centaku Media, which features news, reviews, and observations written with a unique approach, catering to like-minded fans of anime and related subcultures. We love anime, but we also share beyond, because we're in the center of other otaku media. If this is your mood, please follow along. Check out Centaku Media in the link of the show page, or go to centakumedia.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Centaku Media. Welcome to the main event of the fourth episode of the Centaku Media Journal. And this week we have a lot of gaming related news, which is something that I've been trying to improve on for the past 3 episodes. But considering that this is the month of E3, since E3 didn't happen this year, individual game developers and publishers are having their own showcases highlighting upcoming games on their own platforms. And I know there's some that I didn't get in time before my deadline, but of course I'm sure most of you are here for the main reason of gaming, and I know that's with the reveal of the PlayStation 5. But before we get to that, let's get through the anime news, and I know this is also potentially exciting for those that aren't able to go to cons this year. And so, in the age of COVID, there's a couple of events happening coming up in July, and one of them is Anime Expo. So, Anime Expo was one of the first conventions, well, high-profile anime conventions to cancel ahead of their 4th of July weekend event. But instead of just canceling the event altogether, the physical event is canceled, but they are having a virtual con called Anime Expo Lite. And one of the news highlights from this past week, well, week and a half in the making since I've been collecting news sources, they announced any song concert that's going to be streamed free of charge on their YouTube and Twitch channels. They announced that the virtual version Anime Expo Live will be hosting an any song concert named Anime Expo Live X Listen Live LA. They'll stream the concert on July 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's a special live edition of the Liz Annie Live Music Festival. Liz Annie has hosted the Liz Annie, whatever you pronounce, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but they've hosted the live music festival in Japan since 2010. Liz Annie hosted the main Liz Annie Live 2020 concert on February 8th through the 9th, and 2021 event is scheduled for February 27th to 28th, 2021. Organizers of the Anime Expo Convention revealed on May 27th that this year's Anime Expo Live event will be a 2-day live stream and will host artist and character designer of early Final Fantasy fame, Yoshitaka Amano. The free event will also feature content from companies such as Bushiroad, Crunchyroll, Pony Cannon, and Fizz Media. Additionally, the livestream will feature other guests, panels, industry announcements, live content, exclusive content from Japan, QA sessions, and giveaways. So for those that have not heard of the concept of virtual conventions, it's exactly that. So since we can't actually attend conventions, that a lot of convention organizers, they're scrambling to make their own online event for those to still celebrate the convention even though you can't actually be there. So this has been going on since, I guess, late March when the initial cancellations happened. And one as of recent that I guess you could say I virtually attended was MomoCon, and MomoCon had their what they call MomoCon Online or MomoCon Line event, which was held on the same weekend that MomoCon would have been actually held, and they've also had a few guest panelists. They didn't have as many as the guests that they would have had at their physical event, but they've also, I guess, contacted other content creators to have their own panels that were streamed on the Twitch channel, and now there's archived on their YouTube channel. So if you missed out on it, it's on the MomoCon YouTube channel. And one of the panels that I had to check out, which I would have checked out if I were able to go, if he was a guest at MomoCon. I don't know if he was actually going to be a guest at MomoCon, but it was a really nice treat to have him at all. But David Hayter had a panel Sunday right before the conclusion of MomoCon Line, and I did talk about this briefly in the last episode, but he gave into details about his upcoming project, because he's a screenwriter, as not only just voice of Solid Snake, but he's a screenwriter, and he's working on a new series called Warrior Nun for Netflix, and I said in my previous episode that is interesting and I can't wait to see it. And he's also doing voice work in other mediums too, not just Metal Gear, unfortunately, because you know what happened with Konami, and we talked about that in the last episode too about Konami and the way they are, but that's going to be another episode. But anyway, so moving on. So speaking of virtual events, so Funimation is having their own virtual convention, which is called Funimation Con. Funimation announced that its FuniCon 2020 virtual anime convention will host Blue Encount, Flow, Kanabun, and Luna Haruna. FuniCon is also partnering with Sakura Music to offer a 2019 Sakura Music Festival event streamed performance. Additionally, the event will host panels with the English voice cast of Fruits Basket, One Piece, and Fire Force. Funimation will announce additional panels, cosplay, programming, and previews for the virtual convention in the coming weeks. Funimation will hold FuniCon on July 3rd through the 4th. The company describes the event as a 2-day stream of cosplay meetups, industry panels, QA sessions, and more. And that's actually the same weekend as Anime Expo Light, which is July 3rd to the 4th, which I forgot to mention, but so that's some competition there. But you know how like there's some conventions that you choose that you can go to and they end up being the same weekend. Like let's say there's two conventions you want to go to and they end up being the same weekend as one or the other. So this will probably be the first time that you're attending two conventions on one weekend. I mean, that's possible depending on where the con is. Like, I guess for some of us that live in the tri-state area of Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, probably North Carolina, depending on, the circumstance, we could attend two conventions on the same weekend. Actually, I did, I think. I had to think about this for a minute. There was a con I attended that was held here in Chattanooga a few years ago, and it's one of the cons that didn't do very well. It wasn't GemCon, and it wasn't Anime Blast, which is what I'm a part of, as a disclaimer, but there was a convention that only had 1 year, that only did 1 year at the convention center, and I checked it out for a day. Oh yeah, I think it was HamaCon. I think it was the same weekend as HamaCon. So I checked out that con, and I wasn't impressed by it, and then I went to HamaCon. So I got to attend two conventions in one weekend, technically, but considering that Anime Expo is huge, and from where I live, it's on the other side of the country, and FuniCon, that could be held in Texas, technically, since that's where they're headquartered. So, let's think of attending a convention in Texas and California from Tennessee. That's just insane, but, this can only happen once. Probably. I mean, if they start doing this regularly after everything's back to normal, then that'd be cool. But the fact that Anime Expo is doing this free of charge, which is what I also need to point that out as free of charge, and that's what MomoCon did, is that people who haven't attended Anime Expo before, they get a taste of it, so to speak. I know it's not the same, but at least you get an idea of what to expect. But personally, I would like to attend Anime Expo in a very near future, and I would have attended it this year if it weren't for COVID-19, but also there's the issue of me recovering financially from the Korea trip, which is actually going pretty well. So I'm actually, like, with all this overtime I've been working, like, normally I work 5 hours a day, but it's been 8 to 10 hours for the past 3 months. It's actually really beneficial for me. I mean, I know there's some people out there that's unfortunate and they don't have jobs, but they got their job, or if they have jobs, but they haven't risked their lives because of, whatever may be, then, I salute you. And please be careful if you do have to work out there. Like, I'm also an essential worker, so I have to be careful myself. So, yeah. So, after this is over with, it will be worth it, and then we can celebrate and then be able to travel again. So, we're all in this together. But anyway, moving on. So, that's it for Virtual Con news. So, moving on, we have this one piece of news which is related to what I talked about last week regarding KyoAni Studios and the suspect finally in police custody after having to recover from his burns. So, the studio Bones, which is responsible for a lot of our favorite shows, including Cowboy Bebop and now most recently My Hero Academia, they asked the public not to submit unsolicited story ideas. Anime Studio Bones released a statement on its website asking the general public not to submit story ideas. The company states that this is to avoid any unfortunate disputes or controversies that may arise from any coincidental identity or similarities between the submitted ideas and intellectual property originally developed by Bones Incorporated. The request possibly alludes to the devastating arson attack on Kyoto Animation Studio 1. The suspect, who was formally arrested last month, had alleged that Kyoto Animation stole his novel. The studio CEO, Hideaki Atta, stated in July last year that he never heard of the suspect's names before, and no one by the suspect's name had submitted a novel to the company. Kyoto Animation solicits drafts of novels as part of its Kyoto Animation Awards program. Bones' full statement in English is as follows. We thank you for your interest towards Bones Incorporated in this work. Please note that Bones Incorporated does not accept suggestions or ideas from the general public. These include but are not limited to stories, characters, and names, marketing or public relation measures and strategies, etc. This is to avoid any unfortunate disputes or controversies that may arise from any coincidental or identically similarities in submitted ideas developed by Bones. Basically the same thing that I said before. Please note that those submitting ideas and proposals to Bones Incorporated despite the above shall be deemed as having agreed to the following conditions. Bones is not responsible for maintaining the confidentiality of the submitted ideas or proposals. They are not obligated to consider, evaluate, or adopt the submitted ideas or proposals. They are not obliged to reply to the submitted ideas or proposals. They are not liable in any way, including but not limited to liability for monetary compensation, should any submitted idea or proposal be identical or similar, whether in whole or in part, to any title, project, product, or service of Bones Incorporated. Bones is not obliged, I keep saying that, obliged to return the submitted ideas or proposals to the submitter. Any ideas or proposals submitted as hard copies via post or courier shall, as a general rule, be discarded unopened. We thank you for your understanding and cooperation. So, basically, all because of what happened to Kyo Annie, it seems that the idea of accepting ideas from, like, legitimate avenues, like, like contests and all that stuff, is just not idea anymore, considering the following offense. And I'm guessing this has been the norm for the past couple of years, because if I remember correctly, I know there was some death threats towards Square Enix for some reason. I don't know. I'm guessing it's just Square Enix, but it could be anything. Because there's a Final Fantasy fan base, and the fan base is just so big, and I'm sure that I don't know if there's like a story idea they had in mind that they took a part of it out, and they just got upset, or just I don't know. Maybe they are huge fans of one series and they took it seriously that they haven't given it enough attention. Who knows what's going around in these minds? Because it's a iffy situation, and I'm guessing this is one of those examples of why we can't have nice things, because people who are too selfish, they take advantage of it, and you know cause grief for everyone involved. So it's understandable, and it's understandable on why they want to do something like this, and that they made a public statement about it. But I hope one way or another, whoever wants to get their story ideas out there to the studio of their choice will be able to do it one day in a safe manner. And yeah, it's just really unfortunate that these had to be in place. So yeah, so it seems like the days of doing like story or writing contests is just they're not there anymore. Especially now with everything locked down, this would be a good opportunity to submit such ideas. But there's another way to do it safely now. Safely in many ways. But anyway, moving on. So, one of the current series is I've heard a lot about this series, and it recently got an anime adaptation. It's a manga series, and it recently concluded, which is called The Promised Neverland. The latest issue of Weekly Shonen Jump was released, and it came with the end of Kaiju Shirai and Posuka Demisu's Promised Neverland manga. The series kicked off in Shonen Jump in August 2016 and is wrapped up as of this month. And the collected edition or collector edition is also scheduled to close things out with the volume 20, which is due this October. It was also recently adapted into a 12-episode anime series with a second season in the works. And also a live-action movie is opening in Japan this winter. And before the manga ended, plans were revealed to adapt it to a live-action series at Amazon. And it's also an exhibition planned for December, a fan book, and art book. And it's currently streaming on Crunchyroll for those that are curious. The synopsis says the one adored as a mother is not the real parent. The people living here together are not actual siblings. The Gracefield house is where orphaned children live, an irreplaceable home where 38 siblings and mom live happy lives, even with no blood relations. However, their lives suddenly came to an abrupt end one day. Now, I've seen screen caps of this anime, and it seems interesting, but I have a feeling that I'm going to get really sad watching it, because I want to say this series has like similar, not similar, it's not similar at all, but I have a feeling it's going to be the same mood as Full Metal Alchemist, except without the alchemy. But the fact, it sounds like just a regular anime series, something, nothing with fantasy elements and stuff, but it's just one of those series that's going to make you cry, and I'm kind of skeptical of even checking it out. Like, it sounds interesting, but I'm probably going to watch it later when I'm in a better mood, because I've been stressed out lately, and I can only take so much, because right now I'm in the mood for some fighting anime like My Hero or Dragon Ball Super, and that may or may not be this month's episode of the Centaku Media Podcast, but we'll see. Shameless self-promotion right there. Anyway, one more piece of news to end the anime news segment rather, is the return of the Shaman King anime. Hiroyuki Takei's Shaman King is returning to the world of anime in April 2021, according to the official website for the franchise. The series is announced to adapt all 35 volumes of Hiroyuki Takei's famous manga, similar to how Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood or Fruits Basket revisited their respective franchises many years after a first anime project that completed before the manga was able to provide the canonical ending. The original Shaman King anime was adapted from the Weekly Shonen Jump manga that ran from 1998 to 2004 or 2009, depending on which ending you prefer. The anime ran for 64 episodes from 2001 to 2002, receiving one of the earlier mainstream localization of the anime in the US during its run on Foxbox Saturday mornings, which started in September 2003. In 2017, Takei refused an offer for an anime reboot, claiming, "To tell the truth, there was an offer for an anime remake that reached a realistic level, but because they were not able to use the first anime's voice actors and soundtrack, I had to turn it down. I hope there will be another chance." So, for those that are huge fans of Shaman King, then look forward to this as one of the anticipated animes of 2021. Now, I heard, back when it aired on Foxbox, I did watch bits and pieces of it. I made a mistake of watching One Piece on 4Kids TV or Fox. Whatever network it came on, it was under 4Kids, and the fact that it was under 4Kids was a mistake, because it was the horrible opening theme, and then of course the voice acting. Just speaking about it now, I can remember Luffy going hee 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 every time, and it was like, okay, come on, please, just stop. But but now I know that 4Kids, One Piece over 4Kids is not a thing anymore. I know Funimation is taking really, 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 really good care of it. So that's in the sense of that's gives me a possibility of actually keeping up with it again. But it's just so many episodes, y'all. Like, it's over 900 chapters of One Piece. Oh my god, and it's been going for I want to say 200. Yeah, my God, I almost said 200 years. Like it probably feels that way, but no, 20 years. It's been going on for 20 years, and when I went to South Korea last fall, like the network that we watch, I think it was Anybox or something like that. It was it was a network in Korea that aired a lot of anime series. It was Korean dubbed or Korean subtitled, and it also has some like original series here and there. I guess it's kind of like Jetix or Disney XD, whatever you want to call it nowadays. But they aired One Piece religiously. Like they had an ad for it celebrating the 20th anniversary, and the the most recent episodes of One Piece, they would have it uh subtitled in Korean, and the older episodes they have it Korean dubbed. So yeah, there was series about anime. Like yeah, One Piece is serious business in Korea, but yeah, so like everywhere I went, follow me around. I was like, come on, guys. But anyway, so that's it for anime news. So now we're gonna get into the meat of the gaming news, and that is of the reveal of the PlayStation 5. And I know people have been waiting for news of the PlayStation 5 for a while, since mostly last fall, and of course this past spring. And we were originally going to get some first-hand information the beginning of June, but after the recent events in the country took place, it was appropriate to wait another week before Sony would get their chance to reveal information concerning the new console. So The Verge is one of the sources that has detailed information concerning the reveal of the PlayStation 5. So get ready. So the PlayStation 5, after their reveal of all the games, which some I have highlighted in this segment, they revealed their hardware design and all the specs and accessories that's planned for the release of the console. So the PS5 console includes a black and white design to match the new controller, which we've gotten a glimpse of so far, which will be included in the box, according to the article. The PS5 is mainly designed to stand vertically like the Xbox Series X, but the PlayStation 5 will have two versions. It will include a 4K Blu-ray drive and a pure digital edition, which means you have to download your games from the PlayStation Network store. A PS5 variant without the optical drive looks substantially thinner than the regular model thanks to the removal of the drive. The removal of the drive shouldn't mean a digital edition of the PS5. It's not cheaper, and they haven't even said of what the price point was just yet. And of course, this is for those that are curious. It comes out this fall, well, holiday season. But who knows if they decide to release it earlier than that. But they, they haven't released any of that details yet, but that will be later. But just like the Xbox Series X, the PS5 can be placed vertically or horizontally, although I know, like, with the pictures you see here is, for show is placed vertically, and they have a built-in stand that works for either orientation. And the PS5 will also include vents for heat dissipation and a USB-A and USB-C ports in the front. Sony has also created a number of accessories for the PS5, including a DualSense charging station, which is the name of the new controller, the DualSense, a new HD camera, the 3D Pulse wireless headset, and a media remote, which, when you think about it, combines every single major accessory released later for each PlayStation 4, not PlayStation 4, but every PlayStation console that we've had. They're releasing accessories as part of the norm for this. So like the iToy that was released for PS2, that's become the norm for, well, it's not included, but they made variants for the PS3 and PS4. And then you have the headset, which is technically the VR headset. and a media remote, which was introduced during the PS2 era. So that's actually pretty cool that they still, haven't ignored those accessories that have been released over the years. They haven't released, they haven't announced any pricing for any of these components as of yet, or if they even launch alongside of it. Like, I don't know if they're going to be included or what. I mean, it would be cheaper if they just, have a separate purchase, which is very likely the possibility. And so Sony also, they revealed the specs for it before the showcase, but we've been getting more and more information about it, especially after this showcase. The console will arrive in the holiday season and is powered by an 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU and a custom AMD RDNA 2 base GPU. Sony announced the PS5 specs in March, and the custom AMD chips will provide 10.28 teraflops of power using variable frequencies on both the CPU and GPU. Sony is also using a proprietary SSD solution to boost load times for games. The SSD will provide 825 gigabytes of storage and 5.5 gigabytes per second of performance. Sony is requiring that all games be installed using the internal SSD to make use of the read speeds. Epic Games recently provided a stunning Unreal 5 tech demonstration running on the PS5, showing off the loading of cinematic 8K assets and dynamic lighting effects. And the PS5 will also support 8K graphics, 4K graphics at 120 Hz refresh rate, and 3D audio. And Sony announced the DualSense 5 controller on April 7th. The controller features adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, and a new create button that's assigned to share gameplay content. Kind of like what's on the PS4 already. Like the company's DualShock controllers, the D-pad buttons will remain on the top half of the controller, while its 2 analog sticks will be on the bottom. The DualSense will also have a center-mounted touchpad and a redesigned light bar that sits on each side of the touchpad. And the PS5 will support an, quote, overwhelming majority of the more than 4,000 PlayStation 4 titles that exist today. We're expecting backward compatible titles run at a boosted frequency on the PS5 so they can benefit from a higher or more stable frame rates and potentially higher resolutions, Sony said in March. And Ubisoft has already said that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is headed to the PS5 this holiday season. So that's all the information so far to PS5, and wow, I'm really excited. I have a feeling that it's going to be maybe $600. Who knows? This is probably going to be the most expensive game console ever. I forget how much the PS4 was. I think it was $400. But I got really lucky. So I have a little story. There's a little quick backstory because I know we got to get on since we have a lot of news going on. But a little backstory of me getting a PS4. So I didn't get the PS4 until the end of 2015. So the job I had a job that was horrible, really, really horrible. It was fine for the most part, but it's a job that, of course, is going to get horrible with the industry that it's in anyway. And, of course, that's retail. I'm going to withhold the place I worked at, but they're not who you think they are. I'm just going to say they're not Walmart. So just to put that out there. But it makes you think on what retailer this is, but there might be some hints in there to get that will give away of where I work. But it was maybe 2 months before the holiday season, and at this point I'm getting treated badly at work. It's like they were trying to get rid of me, even though I'm trying my hardest to keep up, but they keep giving me these unrealistic demands, and they're not being very adult about it. So I try to find my own way to be productive, but in the end I got shut down in a very immature way. Basically, the supervisor said that I'm not paying you out of my money to do something you weren't trained to do. And I know it was very, very crappy of him. And he was I thought he was very nice, but that was the nail in the coffin for this job. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to take that. I quietly put in my 2 weeks notice, and I told him the last day, haha, screw you guys, I'm going home. But no, this job, they offered a discount. So they offered a discount when you use your store card, right? And at the time, I didn't have enough on the store card because at that point I had maxed it out. But what I didn't notice is that they raised my credit limit on it, just enough to get the PS4. So on top of my employee discount and the discount on the store card, I managed. That was my going away gift, was the PS4. So because of the PS4 is here because of that horrible job, and that was like the one good thing out of it. So I'm really happy with my PS4, and that I want to hold on to it as a, you know, as basically a triumphant reminder of what I went through with that horrible job and where I am now. Cause where I work now is actually a lot better, a lot better. I'm not stammering. It's a lot. That's how much improvement I've had working in the past 10 years through fire and hell and all that stuff. But yeah, so yeah, PS5. That's how I got my PS. Now that's how I got my PS4. But yeah, I wonder how am I going to get my PS5. Although I'm not gonna buy it on release day. I'm probably gonna wait like a year or two until enough games come out for it, and whenever the next big Final Fantasy game comes out. Speaking of Final Fantasy, Square Enix unveils Project Athia. Square Enix, during their PlayStation 5 live stream, revealed that they're launching a title established by the Luminous Production Studio, which was headed by Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata in 2018. Although he resigned from Square and Luminous Productions in October of 2018, which led to the shakeup of the Final Fantasy 15 DLC that turned into the book adaptation of Dawn of the Future. Square revealed information about the game. They showed a demo, like a 30-second, maybe less than a minute clip of Project Athia, and they described the game as a story-led action-adventure game. The game is also set to be launched on a PC, so it's not just a PS5 exclusive. It will be for a little bit of time, but it will be on a PC. But you gotta wonder if Project Athia, and the fact that this is a Square Enix game, and this is for the PS5, keeping that in mind, I wonder if this is Final Fantasy 16 in disguise. Because you remember, like, okay, so I know this is like it was a series of unfortunate events with Square Enix concerning Final Fantasy Versus 13 and just the whole Fabula Nova Crystallis series. So, for those that don't remember, Square Enix had this very ambitious project called Fabula Nova Crystallis, which was going to have Final Fantasy 13 connected with other games surrounding that series. So it's not quite like a sequel series, like, well, I mean, it ended up being that way, but it wasn't intended to be like Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2. But Final Fantasy 13, basically their story was going to be a part of Versus 13 and Project Zero, or Type Zero. Final Fantasy Type Zero. So all three of those games were going to be in that series with Final Fantasy 13, but apparently it didn't work out, so Square Enix quietly broke it up. So instead of getting a totally different game in the Final Fantasy 13 universe, they did do sequel titles in the Final Fantasy 13 series, which was 13-2 and 13-3, and 13-3 Lightning Returns didn't do very well. Actually, I've played through Final Fantasy 13, but I haven't gotten a chance to play through 10-2. I played a little bit of it, but I don't even have 13-3 because I heard bad things about it. But anyway, so yeah, those were well, at least just Final Fantasy 13 was supposed to have its own game, and then the other two was going to explain it, which was Type 0 and Versus 13. Now, Versus 13, which everyone now knows as Final Fantasy 15, that was going to be a totally different game altogether. Like, I mean, it's the same characters, but the theme of it was going to be totally different. And a mild spoiler alert. Well, this is technically non-existent spoilers right here I'm going to talk about. But Final Fantasy Versus 13 was originally going to be darker than what we have in 15. So, like, if I remember correctly, Ignis was set up to betray Noctis, and I think it wasn't going to end well for that. But Yeah, so that was like one of the details I remember. And then of course there's one character that ended up being reconfigured as a totally different character, and I think it was Stella. Stella was going to be the female interest of Noctis, but I think they originally going to have her as Luna Freya's sister, but I think they just removed Stella completely out of the picture and just had Luna Freya. So yeah, that's how much of Final Fantasy 15 was reworked from Versus 13, because uh Tetsuya Nomura, he had a totally different concept of the game, and I think he wanted a darker game in the series. But Square Enix, of course, they said if we have a game like that, we were gonna have to raise the game's rating up from like whatever Japan has of M rating. Basically, the game is gonna go from a T to an M rating, and they worry that they won't get as many sales as it would from just a teen rated game. So that was their biggest concern from what I heard. So Tetsuya Nomura basically abandoned the Versus 13 project, and Hajime Tabata took it over, and now we have what we know as Final Fantasy 15 today. So expect Project Athia to go through development hell up until maybe the PlayStation 6, and then it's going to turn into Final Fantasy 16 or maybe 17, who knows. But just looking from the trailer of it, it might be just an original game altogether. But I mean, with the PlayStation 5 on the horizon, I mean, it's time to get talking on the next big Final Fantasy game. So it might be Final Fantasy 16 disguise, who knows? But we'll see. You know, Square Enix is full of surprises. Next, speaking of popular games for the Sony platform for the PlayStation 5, so who remembers Gran Turismo? So yes, there's a new Gran Turismo game in development, Gran Turismo 7, for the PlayStation 5. Sony announced during its PlayStation 5 The Future of Gaming livestream on Thursday that Polyphony Digital is developing Gran Turismo 7 for the PlayStation 5. From classic vehicles and tracks to the reintroduction of the legendary GT simulation mode, GT7 brings together the best features from past installments of the series alongside the future. An even more realistic driving experience awaits thanks to haptic feedback, which brings to life what it's like when the tires hit the road. The PlayStation 5's immersive 3D audio allows players to sense the position of other cars and drivers around them. The previous main numbered title in the series, Gran Turismo 6, was released on December 2013 for the PlayStation 3, and Sony's Polyphony Digital Studio developed the game, and the online service for the game ended in 2018. And the last Gran Turismo game release, but it wasn't a numbered title in the series, was Gran Turismo Sport, released in October 2017 for the PS4. So, for those that forgotten about Gran Turismo, just remember that this is another game that's gone through development hell. I think Gran Turismo 6 has had quite a bit of time in development before it was actually released, because I think it was intended to release right before the PlayStation 4 was even announced. Like I think Gran Turismo 6 was supposed to be a launch title for PS3, but it like missed it by a couple of years, and it was released like towards the end, I guess. Not really towards the end, but you know, it's like at this point the PS4 was out, so like y'all are not gonna have a next Gran Turismo game for the PS4. I mean, there was another Gran Turismo game, but it's not a numbered title in the series. But yeah, it's nice that they haven't forgotten about Gran Turismo. But let's just see how long it takes. Cause maybe they started development already. Maybe we'll get it sooner than later, much later, maybe before the PS6 comes out. But moving on from Sony news. So that's all the Sony news I have so far. I know there's more, but I didn't get a chance to include it before my self-proposed deadline. But there's some more news too, not just Sony centric, but this one concerns Nintendo. So I got a few Nintendo news here. So this one talks about real money trading, or RMT. In an article posted by Destructoid, Nintendo is going to go after these users who practice RMT on a case-by-case basis. In short, if people want a certain villager, sellers offer the ability to either buy them with in-game money, either millions of bells or Nook Miles tickets or real-life money. The median price range is $10, but popular villagers like Raymond can go for as much as $25 or more in package deals. It's a practice that's been going on since launch, but only just now Nintendo is going to actually start looking into it. Speaking to JCast, Nintendo explains that selling content in real life for real life monetary gain is a violation of their terms of service, and they will be taking action accordingly if they see it happening. Nintendo isn't threatening legal action here, to be clear. It seems that they're just going to be banning or suspending accounts for now. Both buyers and sellers are mentioned specifically. So be careful if you actually practice this, whether you're a buyer or a seller. This is something that's just not fun anyway because it ruins the spirit of the game. Like any game, not just Animal Crossing, but just like even online RPGs like Final Fantasy 14. That's like Final Fantasy 14, 11, and WoW. They're like the prime examples of real money trading industries. And yeah, Square and Blizzard have been going after these people for years. And they're usually like one of the articles I mentioned actually was about, I think it was 2 episodes ago, there was a person in Japan that got in trouble for lying that he had COVID-19, and the fact that he said that was because he was late on his rent, and his day job was selling items for real money in the game that he was playing. But because he couldn't come up with money for the rent, he lied to say that he had COVID-19. I'm guessing just to, make the landlord feel bad for him and like delay his rent because he was out of the job. No, he lied that he worked in a hospital and that he had, basically not work. So yeah, that's the one of the issues a person has working in real money trading is that they're very shifty people. So just don't partake into it. Well, if you do it, well, good for you, but just be careful. I wouldn't partake into doing such illegal activities. But moving on. So speaking of Nintendo, so for those that have played or are interested, or maybe if you want to give it a second thought of playing Jump Force, it's going to be released for the Nintendo Switch in August. So Bandai announced its anime crossover fighter Jump Force is coming to the Switch this summer. The deluxe edition will launch in Japan on August 27th, while the European release date is set for the 28th. And also, that's when the North American version will come out, which is the 28th. The deluxe edition will contain the base game, all updates, and all 9 DLC characters from the fighter's first character pass. The Switch edition will offer online communication battles for 2 players and also support offline battles for a whopping 6 players on one console. The deluxe edition, for those that pre-order, they'll bag themselves some exclusive avatar items for use on the game's lobby. And Destructoid has the full information if you want to see the details and trailers for yourself. But for those that have played Jump Force on the PS4, they already know what to expect. But for those that want to play Jump Force on the go, then this is an opportunity to snag the deluxe edition before it's a thing of the past. So, speaking of Nintendo, so the biggest news of all, and I know as of this week, we finally had a release of the first expansion, Isle of Armor, for the Sword and Shield series. But on the day of the release of Isle of Armor, we also got an announcement which I did not expect coming. So I knew were going to have a live stream, but unfortunately I couldn't actually watch the live stream as it happened. But when I got home from work early for the first time in months, I got greeted to the news that a new Pokemon Snap game is in the works. Oh my gosh. And I'll explain what Pokemon Snap is for those that haven't heard of it before. So Bandai Namco Studios is developing a new Pokemon Snap game for the Nintendo Switch, which is tentatively called New Pokemon Snap. The game, inspired by the 1999 Pokemon Snap game for the Nintendo 64, will let players photograph Pokemon to complete a Pokédex. Players will visit a variety of environments and capture unique Pokemon behaviors. So yeah, that game was my jam. Like, I know, just thinking about it now, it probably hasn't aged well because it didn't have a whole lot of Pokemon in it. I think there were some missing. I don't think they had like all 151, but I think there were some conditions where you could get Mew or something. I don't know. I think it was limited in one way, but one of the biggest features of the game is that you could take your game pack and all the pictures you've taken of a Pokemon. You can take it to Blockbuster and take it to the kiosk and have stickers of the Pokemon printed out for you to stick everywhere. So that was like one of the innovative things that they've done ever, that I could remember in gaming. I know I'm pretty sure they've done other things have been done that's innovative, just as taking it to a Blockbuster. I think that was like the one thing that kept Blockbuster alive was having these kiosks. Cause it was in '99, and then of course several years later, Blockbuster will go into a spiral decline into nothingness. So like it's really sad. That was like the last big thing I remember of Blockbuster was taking my game pack to Blockbuster. And the closest Blockbuster we had to go on a bus. Like when I lived in Chicago, we lived on one area of Chicago where there weren't really much going on there, so we had to like venture out by bus to get to where we needed to go. So we went to the Blockbuster that was in Homewood, Illinois, and we would spend some time there. We would go to the Kmart there. I'm pretty sure that for those that live in Illinois by chance probably know exactly which area I'm talking about. That's how much of a Chicagoan I am. But it was in Homewood, Illinois. It was in the same plaza of where Big Kmart was located in the Blockbuster, right next to the Red Wing shoes. So my mom would take me there, and we would, I would take my favorite shot in the game and have them print out, and I would hold on to them for dear life. So not only that we had news of a new Pokemon Snap game, but it's also another game which is going to be a Switch title, but it's also going to be released on mobile devices, called Pokemon Cafe Mix, which is a touch-based puzzle game that's going to launch. Actually, if this episode gets released on time, it was released yesterday, June 23rd. The game will support the following languages: Japanese, German, Italian, Korean, Spanish, French, Chinese, and English, and is also free to play with in-app purchases. Players link together Pokemon icons to complete puzzles. They also recruit Pokemon to help in their cafes. Each Pokemon will have a cafe skill to use when completing puzzles. The Golden Acorns in-game currency will let players regain hearts, continue puzzles, and get items. Additionally, the presentation announced the Pokemon Smile children's game for iOS and Android devices. The game will encourage young children to brush their teeth as they brush their teeth, the players will defeat bacteria and reveal Pokemon to catch. But the game will not include in-app purchases, which makes sense. This is a children's game. And also, for those that play Pokemon Go, the presentation announced that the Pokemon Victini, I pronounce it, I'm sorry, Victini will join Pokemon Go this year, and a new take on Mega Evolution will debut in the smartphone game. Galarian Farfetch debuted in the game during this presentation, so if you want a Galarian form of Farfetch, there you go. So, for those that are partaking or have yet to partake, such as myself, the Isle of Armor expansion, it was released during the presentation, basically right on time. And they also mentioned that those that participate in max raid battles can battle Zeraora between June 17th and the 28th. And if 1 million players with the max raid battle, who participate in it rather, they'll be able to receive a shiny Zeraora. So, there you go. And also, there's Pokemon Company is planning on another streaming presentation on June 24th, which is the launch day of this episode. So expect news about their next stream in the next episode, which will be the second Wednesday of July, which I don't have my calendar at the moment, but yeah. So stay tuned for episode 5 of the journal for more details, or if you're impatient, you can just visit your favorite gaming or anime source for more information. But anyway, that's it for gaming news. Whew! That took a whole chunk of my time, and this is like probably my longest episode ever. And also, I will preface that I do have one bit of offbeat news article for this episode, but it's kind of mixed in with our entertainment news, and I think you'll spot it when I get there. But just to kick off entertainment news, so it's kind of not a surprise here, but Coachella, which is it's not okay. Well, it's not a K-pop related. It's a K-pop related event, depending on the guest. But overall, it's been a music festival that's been around for quite some time now. But the reason why this is big news in the K-pop industry is because it was canceled, and the reason why it was big news in the first place was because Big Bang and Epic High were originally set to perform at the concert. And it was originally going to be held in April, but they pushed it to October, but with no signs. Well, just as a precaution, and I hope that by October that, it will be some signs of slowing down, but, who knows how things turn out. But yeah, it was originally going to be held in October, but now it's just canceled completely, so no Coachella this year. So yeah, Big Bang and Epic High were originally supposed to perform, and the reason giving the cancellation of the event, Cameron Kaiser, a public health official in Riverside County where the event would have taken place, said that he was concerned as indications grow that COVID-19 could worsen in the fall. Given the projected circumstances and potential, I would not be comfortable moving forward. These decisions are not taken lightly with the knowledge that many people will be impacted. My first priority is the health of the community. So, chances are they'll be able to perform next year, given the circumstances. So hopefully, like, this will, like, maybe we're wrong and then maybe it'll improve. But like I said, we're in this together, and all we can do is just wait patiently and, hang in there until all this is over with. So just stay safe, practice social distancing, and be sure to practice hygiene habits, especially washing your hands. Anyway, for those that are bummed out about not being able to go to concerts this year, there is one thing to look forward to. So, who here remembers BLACKPINK? So, BLACKPINK is finally making a comeback this year, and this is after months of doubts on whether they're even going to have a comeback at all, even though they had a very successful world tour last year, which I managed to get to attend their Atlanta stop last summer. So yeah, BLACKPINK is making a comeback, and they will release their pre-release single on June 26th, which is 2 days after. Well, not 2 days, but in Korea time, it's probably like less than a day, technically, or maybe tomorrow. So they announced their teaser, and they've been releasing a lot of individual shots of Lisa, Jisoo, Rose, and Jeannie. And if you go to the Koreaboo article, you can see individual shots of it, and they also have been having basically around the clock updates of each teaser and any video teasers that have been coming out. So that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to their comeback, as it's been way too long. And you know how YG treats their girl groups, because 21, they gave 21 a chance, but they didn't really do anything with them. So it's like really sad that 21 never really they got a shot, but they never got as big as BLACKPINK has. So it's just really unfortunate, and I really hope that they push BLACKPINK more than they have 21. So I'm looking forward to the comeback, and I'll have more details about it in the next episode, and also I'll link to the video once it drops in the next episode. So going on to more K-pop news. So, Super M is very likely to nab a Grammy nomination. So, Billboard released their 2021 Grammy nomination, or predictions rather, on June 15th, and they put Super M under their Within Reach category. Some artists were notably snubbed, which is BTS, and I'll get into that momentarily. K-pop has another contender with the form of Super M. Billboard listed Super M as having a Grammy nomination within reach for Best New Artist Award. So for those that are out of the loop, Super M is a SM entertainment group, and they're composed of Taemin from SHINee, Kai and Baekhyun from EXO, Taeyong and Mark from NCT, and Tin and Lucas from Wavy. And they were slated as an Avengers group of SM Entertainment. And they've also performed on many music shows, even in the US. I believe they performed on Ellen during the height of their debut. And they also, Billboard was quoted saying that Super M has a chance of becoming the first K-pop group to be nominated in this category with its self-titled EP, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. So, going on to BTS. So, BTS was just completely snubbed on the same day when they were talking about Super M. They did not mention BTS at all, even though they've had consistently high chart records and sales. They were not included in any of the categories, such as Best Bets, Good Chance, and Within Reach. And of course, there was some flack in the community, and they accused the Grammys of being biased. And of course, one of the responses was, "Well, the reason we're not nominated at all, even though they're slaying the charts, is that they're not white and not American," which is sad. And considering that we're in the middle of improving race relations, like, you think the Grammys would give them a shot. And this has been going on for the past couple of years, ever since BTS has come into mainstream relevance. But I'm guessing, I don't know what it is, like, so Super M, they have like I think a couple of English songs, and I think that's why they gave them attention. But the fact that BTS perform as they are as Koreans, they want to promote the Korean culture and language, so they have their songs. The songs they've done, is charted really high on the charts, and that's very good. Although there's still some people that say, "I can't understand what they're saying. I can't listen to this. I don't understand what they're saying," and it's very unfortunate that people have that mindset. Like, music is a universal language, so it doesn't matter if you can understand it. It sounds really good, and it actually has meaning. And so BTS is that perfect group. That's why a lot of people take them seriously, because they promote being yourself and all that, and taking care of yourself, and everything else that's important in this era of uncertainty. So maybe the Grammys, maybe they're being biased. I mean, I'm pretty sure they are being biased, but I guess the fact that Super M got a Within Reach mention is kind of important. But I think that another reason, I don't know, I tried looking for this before I started recording, and somewhere, I think it was either last year or the year before, some source mentioned a reason why BTS was ineligible for a nomination, and I think it was the fact that their Love Yourself series. I think the fact that they released too many albums in a short amount of time, I think disqualified them from getting a nomination, because I think it was a combination of them releasing too many albums in the series, and the fact that the number of tracks between the two before they release a repackaged version of it was a factor too. And I think they were like maybe a month or two shy of their release window for Grammy nominations. I think that was why, but if I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes. But I think that was why. I don't know if it's. I don't even remember even if it was for the Grammys or the American Music Awards. I think they were nominated for AMA, but I don't know, I could be wrong. But yeah, if I can find it, I'll link it. But yeah, that's one of the things I remember. I don't know, that might have been BS, but it kind of makes sense, because people are like people in the West are not used to that kind of release. Because yeah, like K-pop artists like BAP back in the day, they released like 3 mini albums in 1 year, and I think that's the same with Monster X. So I'm like, there was like a lot to keep up with. So I think that's what messed them up, and the fact that this is the only album they've released. Well, I think right now they have their new album right now, but I think that might be qualification enough. But their last album with Hasley, Boy with Love, that might be a good contender. But I think at this point it's too late, because it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. So yeah, they're too late for that nomination. Way too late. But you get the idea. But yeah, so moving on. So two more pieces of news involves Rain. So a couple of episodes ago, I was talking about Rain and his misfortune with the song "Gang" that he released back in 2017. Like, if you looked at the show notes for episode 2, the music video for it is like really over the top and it's very cringy, especially for those that follow Rain for a long time. Because basically, people are saying it's not like him, and the music videos is so cringy that they in Korea they developed as a joke a unit of measurement of how bad things are for Rain. And I think it also depended on, I think it was his movie too. He did a movie that didn't do very well, so they did that as, I think that's what it was. They used his movie as a measurement. I think it was UPD or something like that. So they used that unit of measurement. But Rain clapped back and said, "You can't gang. You can. The fact is that gang is not doing very well is because you're not ganging enough. And so don't even talk to me when you've ganged like 3 times a day or 4 times a day." And it was like hilarious. And I'm like, you go Rain. So like the biggest concern of that is that Rain, people were worrying that Rain would get, upset by it and like get discouraged. But no, he's actually been taking this in stride and I'm so proud of him. Like Rain has been one of the first K-pop artists I followed when I got into K-pop back in 2004. Yes, that's how long I've been into K-pop. So yes, I'm a guess you could call myself a young old head. But no, my taste of K-pop goes back even beyond, like, further back to like maybe '95 because it was a one fateful day that I decided to go to one side of YouTube and listen to K-pop from the '90s all the way up to the Shinhwa era, maybe even before that, like the Shotaiji era. But that's gonna be another episode or another story. But but anyway, so Rain, he expressed his shock when the remix for Gang came out. Gang, the remix of it was released on June 4th, and it features higher music artists J Park, Howen, Shik and PH1. And it came out 6 p.m. Korean Standard Time, and by 11 p.m. it had hit #1 on all the top Korean music services, which was Melon, Genie, and Bugs. And Rain shared a screenshot on his Instagram expressing his shock. "This is what? Why is this happening? This is so weird, though." And the fact, he didn't expect it to chart as high as it did because the music video was made for fun. So the music video I'll link to in the show notes, but it shows all the participating higher music artists, the higher music label artists, t- uh, singing their own take of the song, and then at the very end we have Rain making an appearance and showing off the same swagger he did in the music video. But yeah, it's a real banger. It's actually a really good song. Like I know both songs. So the first song, if you don't watch the music video, the original Gang, it's called Gang. I keep saying Gong, but no, it's actually Gang. But the original music video of it, like, is, I would say, yeah, it's a bit cringy. But I'm guessing since I'm biased of Rain, like I don't care. But the music video itself is not the music itself rather. It's not bad. But I recommend listening to both songs and watching both music videos just to see what you think. If it's, an improvement from one or the other, but I don't care. Like, it's Rain. Like, I'm in love with him. I know he's married now, but like he's like one of my second favorite K-pop artists, or just Korean stars I pay attention to next to Jungkook and Suk. But anyway, speaking of Rain, to close out the entertainment and just to close out the journal altogether. So Rain has been appearing alongside Lee Hyori and Yoo Suk on a show called How Do You Play, which comes on MBC, not NBC but MBC, which is in Korea. So Yoo Suk, for those that don't know who Yoo Suk is, he's the guy that wore the yellow suit in the Gangnam Style music video, and he's what they call the nation's MC because he's MC'd almost every variety show you could think of in Korea. So he's quite the busy man. But Lee Hyori, for those that don't know who she's currently known as a female solo artist, but she originally debuted in the group Finko back in the late '90s. She was like one of the original K-pop girl groups before, like in the first generation before we had Girls' Generation. Oh, Baby Fox. Baby Fox was in the same era, but we had, if you think of Girls' Generation, Kara, 21 Now, like Finkel, like she was part of that girl group generation along with SES and all that. But yeah, you get the idea. So yeah, she's an old school K-pop celebrity along with Rain. Rain is technically old school at this point, but he was like late first gen. So, but he's so relevant now, obviously, especially now with him reeling off the remix of Gang and just the song in general. But anyway, so they are going to make their debut in a co-ed group, which is not. I'm guessing they're semi taking this seriously, but for the sake of the show, they're just making fun, poking fun at the fact that co-ed groups were a thing, and then they're trying to bring back the whole style and the energy that co-ed group had back in the day. There's not that many co-ed groups in K-pop nowadays. I know Card is the most recent example, but there were a handful of co-ed groups in the 90s that was serious business, and I think one of them is Sasa. And shoot, what's the other one? There's another one that was really big back in the day. Oh yeah, Kyote. Kyote is technically a co-ed group. I think they're still around now, but they haven't released anything lately. But they're still relevant in some cases. But yeah, so anyway, moving on to the story. They are going to promoting as the co-ed group SOC 3. Previously, Yoo Suk, Lee Hori, and Rain confirmed that they will be performing as a co-ed group through the summer dance music project on NBC's How Do You Play. On June 4th, the upcoming project group held a YouTube live broadcast in which they decided on their group name. During the broadcast, the three discussed ideas for their team names, such as Nasang Pojin, meaning shingles, what? But short for a lineup of those who have won a daesang. Jung Bondai, meaning complete opposites, but short for really welcoming huge stars. 20th Century Idols, Hiyori and Two Kids, and more. Eventually, they decided to promote under the name SOC 3, or probably Suksum in this case. The name in Korean is similar to the word Suksuyi, which means to sweep. The members decided on the name to represent that they would be sweeping the music charts. The three members also decided on their new stage names for their co-ed group. Yoo Suk already had many options such as You Go Star or You San Soul. Yoo Suk's stage name as a trot singer, which is what he goes by when he does trot songs. Although he considered You Typhoon, meaning that he would have to take the industry by storm. He leaned towards the stage name of You Dragon, which is reference to G-Dragon. Lee Hori decided that her name would be Linda G, which is a play on words from a phrase meaning everyone pees a little when Lee Hori appears. Like, what? Rain revealed that he would take some more time to decide on their names between Beat and Be Wrong, which means that he will become the dragon of the world of singers. So their final decisions will be revealed in the June 6th broadcast. I didn't get a chance to copy it before I printed it out, but I know there's some more. This is going to be an ongoing series. So apparently you can watch this show on Viki if you have a paid subscription. So if you go to the Soompi article, you can get the link to the episode that this appears on. But yeah, you need a subscription to watch it. Actually, I thought about getting a subscription, but I'm trying to balance out my priorities on services I have, because I do have a paid subscription to Ferv and I have Spotify. And I just got to make room for all these streaming services. I don't have time for all of them. But yeah, I would like to check it out myself. They do have clips of it on YouTube, though, for those that are really curious. But yeah, this is going to be an ongoing series, obviously. So I'll keep everyone updated on the next episode. And speaking of the next episode, that concludes episode 4 of the Centaku Media Journal. Woo! That took a really long time. That was, I guess, not really long time, but it took a while for me, and I know I had a lot to talk about, a lot to fangirl about. But thank you for sticking around so far, and I might have made some mistakes. Like, I'm sure to be fixing editing, but if it's unavoidable, I'll be sure to mention it here in the next 2 minutes. And of course, for those that listen to the podcast, there's always an outro segment where I get to say anything else I didn't get to mention in the main segment. And also be an incentive to follow along on the podcast, which will be mentioned twice, maybe not once, but twice, maybe thrice. But I will save you the effort. I'll save the effort until after I get through these messages. Welcome back to our outro segment of the Centaku Media Journal, episode 4. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show. But before I go into my spiel of following Centaku Media and or the podcast, which I recommend both, I do want to make an announcement. So I've been pondering this for a while, and this is something I did back in the day. I mean, this is one of the things you do whenever you're developing a community, and I figured now would be a good time to jump on it. Whether it succeeds or not, that's fine, but I'm just going to give it a try instead of pondering about it for a while. So, back in the day, during the Centaku days, I used to run polls all the time, and they were very successful. But of course, moving forward, I just haven't had the inspiration to create a poll, but this will be a reboot of sorts as far as having visitors and readers and listeners submit their opinions on what they think that could help me out moving forward. So, in the show notes of this podcast, which will be in a link in your description depending on what platform you're listening to this on, I will be running a poll that will be open from today, the day of publication of this podcast, until July 15th, which will help me decide on what next anime to watch. So, I have 3 anime series lined up that I want to watch, but I don't even know where to start. But I need audience input, like reader, listener, or visitor input on the next anime series I should watch. So I got way too many anime that are put off because of just interest. It doesn't interest me at the moment, and then there's another anime series I'll watch over it, and this is the case recently with My Hero Academia and Dr. Stone. So I'm up to season 4 of My Hero Academia, and actually I started watching the 4th season not too long ago, although I'm only into the first episode of the season, and I actually plan on doing the commentary of it moving forward, because I already got some screen caps of episode 64. I think it's episode 64 if I remember correctly, but I was going to do a commentary on it, so that will be published in the near future. But I ended up watching Dr. Stone all the way to the end, and I know my friend, she was watching my season 4 of My Hero too, because she pretty much binge watched that overnight over past summer. Well, not past summer, but last summer. And now she's teasing me. So why are you so behind on My Hero? And she's dropped Dr. Stone for the time being. I guess, it just wasn't her thing. Kind of like with me, but it's reversed. So I went after Dr. Stone over My Hero. But I do plan on watching My Hero. But also, whatever next anime series that you readers, listeners, and visitors decide, that will be what I'll watch next. I already have a few more anime series I need to finish watching, but I need your help. So I got 3 series. First one is Code Geass, or Geass. I can never pronounce that. But Code Geass, that's one series that I've actually started watching back in the day, but I just never made any progress. So that's one series up for debate. Next is No Game No Life, which I've heard many favorable things about it. I know it's a weird, I guess it's a cross between Sword Art Online and Welcome to the NHK. I don't know if that's the best description for it, but it sounds interesting, so I put that on my list. And third is Beastars. Beastars is a series that Sippy reviewed not too long ago on the blog. He's our contributor on the blog, and he's also a close friend of mine I've known for about a decade now. And that show, by default, it could be a go-to series to watch, but I don't know. I'm just really excited between these 3, so I don't know where to start, so I just need your help. The poll will run from today, June 24th, until July 15th, or technically July 14th, which is Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So you have until then to vote. And after that, I'll talk a little bit about whatever anime series that gets chosen. I'll talk about it in a future episode. It won't be this next month's episode, but it'll be like the month after. So possibly in August is what I'm looking at, that I'll be able to publish it. So I'll need your help. And also, moving forward, some other future plans I had in mind was starting a Discord server. So I do have a Discord server already, but I haven't promoted it yet. So I'm not sure like how it will succeed. I guess I'm scared of it just failing, but I guess if I open it up a little bit at a time, there may be some interest, and then whoever really likes the server, they can help promote it and then grow into a huge community. Because I've always wanted to do like some kind of community, put in a community aspect for Centaku as a whole, but it just never worked out the way I planned. Because I even started my own forum, and I know I had issues with forums growing up into who I am now, but why not just, if you can't join them, bring them to yourself. I know that's not the right saying, but at this point I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna start my own, so that way I won't have anyone telling me what to do. So yeah, that's all I have. I know I just went on a little longer than I thought, but I know I try to keep my outros 3 minutes long, but I just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, so show notes, community poll, help me choose what next anime series to watch, and if this is successful, I'll do another one, but it won't be just anime. It will be other things too, like video games, K-dramas, J-dramas, maybe music artists, who knows, but we'll see moving forward. That's all I had for that, and also be sure to listen to this most episode of the Centaku Media Podcast, which is about Dragon Ball Super, which is what I've been keeping under wraps for a while, and I'm excited that I'll be able to share it with y'all. I know it wasn't quite rushed, but I realized I made some mistakes in producing it, but you'll notice it if you're a hardcore fan. But that's the process of talking about what you're passionate about. So I hope you enjoy it, and also if you enjoyed this podcast so far, be sure to subscribe. Also be sure to talk about it, leave a positive review of it, and share it with your friends. It's available on anchor.fm/Centaku Media, and it's also available through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and whatever podcast platform this is available on via anchor.fm. And also follow us on social media at Centaku Media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and Centaku-chan on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer. There will be live streams in the future, so stay tuned for any announcements concerning that. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Centaku Media Journal, which will drop on July 8th. And the next episode of the Centaku Media Podcast will drop on July 29th, which is the last Wednesday of July, and that's Wednesday number 5 of the month. So there'll be a little longer gap in between. Thank you for listening, and until next time, so long. Forget this day. I'm gonna throw my memories away.